My wife insisted I evolve past outdated masculinity, so I evolved past her. I became exactly what she asked for. Careful what you wish for, sweetheart. Update 4. The next test came 3 days later when we encountered a situation that would have normally triggered my protective instincts. We were at the grocery store when some guy started hitting on her aggressively. In the old days, one look from me would have sent him packing. But the new evolved me just stood there watching uncomfortably as this creep invaded her personal space. Come on, beautiful. Just give me your number, he persisted, stepping closer when she tried to back away. She looked at me desperately, expecting me to step in like I always had. Instead, I fidgeted with my phone, avoiding eye contact. I don't really feel comfortable with confrontation, I said weakly when she finally managed to get away from the guy herself. Dr. Martinez says masculine aggression is often just toxic compensation for insecurity. The look she gave me could have melted steel. For the first time in months, I saw a genuine anger directed at my behavior instead of my supposed toxicity. Are you kidding me right now? She hissed once we were in the car. I'm just trying to be the evolved man you wanted. Non-violent, non-confrontational, in touch with my emotions instead of reacting with primitive masculine instincts. That wasn't primitive. That was she couldn't finish the sentence, because finishing it would mean admitting that she actually wanted me to be protective, aggressive when necessary, traditionally masculine in the ways that mattered. She'd spent months tearing down those exact qualities, and now she was furious that they were gone. That night she barely spoke to me, but I could see her watching me differently, like she was finally starting to understand what she'd actually been asking for. The automated messages kept coming, each one a reminder of the emotional, sensitive man she demanded I become. I love how we're both growing together. I feel so safe being vulnerable with you. She turned off her phone and went to bed early, but I knew sleep wouldn't come easily. She was starting to realize that she'd been fighting a war against her own desires, and she was losing. By week 3, the cracks in her feminist facade were becoming impossible to ignore. She'd grown quiet, irritable, and started spending more time away from home. But I wasn't about to let up now. This lesson needed to be thorough. Breaking point came when her best friend invited us to a dinner party. This was perfect. A social setting where my new personality could really shine in front of people who knew the old me. I spent an hour getting ready, using every product in her skincare arsenal, and asking her opinion on everything. Do you think this moisturizer makes my skin look too glowy? I want to embrace my feminine side, but I don't want to overdo it. She watched me fuss over my appearance with barely concealed disgust. The woman who'd spent months telling me that men needed to be more in touch with their feminine energy was now repulsed by seeing me actually do it. At the party, I was the perfect example of evolved masculinity. When the men gathered to talk sports, I declined to join them. I'm trying to move away from those competitive masculine spaces, I explained to the host. I'd rather discuss emotional wellness, or maybe share some poetry I've been writing about my feelings. I could see my wife cringing from across the room, but she couldn't say anything without exposing her hypocrisy. When someone brought up politics, I immediately deferred to my wife. I don't really have strong opinions anymore. I've learned that my masculine perspective tends to dominate conversations, so I prefer to listen and learn from others, especially women. The other men looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Their wives seemed equally confused. Nobody knew how to respond to a man who'd completely abdicated any semblance of leadership or conviction. But the real masterpiece came when someone spilled red wine on my wife's white dress. In the past, I would have immediately taken charge, gotten napkins, helped clean it up, maybe even offered to take her home to change. Instead, I just stood there looking helpless. Oh no, I said, wringing my hands. This is so overwhelming. I don't know what to do. Should we call someone? Maybe we should leave. I'm feeling really anxious about this situation. She stared at me in complete shock as the other guest jumped in to help. Maybe you could help clean this up, she suggested through gritted teeth. I don't want to assume that's my role, I replied. That would be imposing traditional gender expectations. You're perfectly capable of handling this yourself. The car ride home was explosive. What the hell was that? She finally screamed, her composure completely shattered. I was being the evolved man you wanted. Non-dominant, emotionally available, aware of my masculine privilege. That wasn't evolved. That was pathetic. The word hung in the air between us like a bomb. She'd finally said what she really thought about the kind of man she'd been demanding I become. So you think emotional availability is pathetic? No. I think she struggled to find words that wouldn't completely contradict everything she'd been preaching. I think you're taking this too far. How can someone take evolution too far? Either you want me to grow past toxic masculinity or you don't. She was silent for the rest of the drive, but I could practically hear the gears turning in her head. She was finally connecting the dots between what she'd been asking for and what she actually wanted. The next few days were torture for her. I continued my performance with religious dedication. More automated messages, more emotional processing sessions, more indecision and passivity. I asked her permission for everything, deferred to her judgment constantly, and turned every conversation into a therapy session about feelings. I've been thinking about our dynamic, I said one evening, settling in for another marathon emotional discussion. Do you think my evolution is threatening to your sense of security? Sometimes women subconsciously prefer traditional masculine energy even when they intellectually reject it. She looked at me with something approaching hatred. Can we please just watch TV without analyzing our relationship? Media consumption is often just avoidance of deeper emotional work, I replied, quoting her favorite podcast. I think it would be more growth-oriented if we explored why you're resisting this conversation. Now you can watch the 5th part by pressing share and more.